Number 7. Keira Knightley. In December of 2016, Mark Revell was issued a restraining order that prohibited him from making any form of contact with actress Keira Knightley. The 50-year-old had reportedly been stalking the English celebrity, bombarding her and her husband with cat-themed postcards and even making cat-like sounds through the letterbox at their London residence. The harassment ultimately led to Revell being given an 8-week suspended jail sentence. After only a few weeks, it emerged that the suspect had violated the terms of his restraining order by posting a series of threats against Knightley on Twitter and sending her an explicit photograph. The actress reportedly began to fear for her and her family's safety, and she was prompted to upgrade her home security measures after Revell referred to himself as a public executioner on social media. He was later tracked down by the authorities and taken into police custody. During a hearing at Blackfriars Crown Court, Revell reportedly confessed to violating his restraining order. He was ordered to remain in a psychiatric hospital indefinitely following a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. Number 6. Mercedes Moore. Jeanne Garnier, an Instagram model known to her millions of followers as Mercedes Moore, texted her father on August the 17th of 2021 to ask that he stay with her for a few days at her new house in Houston, Texas. Moore had reportedly expressed concerns about living alone after one of her followers had previously posted her old address to social media, which ultimately prompted her to change homes. Following their brief text exchange, Moore's father didn't hear from the model again. On August the 29th, he received a phone call from his other daughter, London, who had begun to worry about Moore as well after she'd failed to reach her. That afternoon, Mark went to Moore's residence, located in a gated community on the outskirts of Houston called the Cortland Sugarland Apartments. He kicked the front door down and rushed inside, where he came upon his daughter's body crumpled at the bottom of the staircase. Although he'd initially believed that Moore had accidentally fallen down the stairs, Mark and his girlfriend later found a man identified as 34-year-old Kevin Accorto in a room on the second level. According to Mark's testimony, Accorto had a knife sticking out of his neck, and he was twitching and gurgling on the floor when he came upon him. On the wall of Moore's room, Accorto had allegedly written a series of rambling notes with the victim's lipstick. The writings reportedly consisted of a confession of the man's crimes and a profession of his love for Moore. Investigators concluded that Accorto had been stalking the model for some time, although they were unsure of how he'd discovered her latest address. It was determined that he'd taken his own life after murdering Moore. The Fort Bend County Medical Examiner ruled that the model's cause of death had been strangulation and a traumatic concussion. Number 5. Suzanne Tamim. On July the 28th of 2008, Lebanese singer Suzanne Tamim was found dead in a Dubai hotel. According to her death certificate, the 30-year-old woman's throat was slit, although earlier reports indicated that she'd been fully decapitated. In September of that same year, authorities in Cairo arrested business tycoon Hisham Talat Mustafa. He reportedly sat on the Policies Committee of Egypt's National Democratic Party and was a senior associate of former President Hosni Mubarak's son. Investigators gathered that Mustafa had been involved in a romantic relationship with Tamim, which had reportedly begun after she'd requested his help in divorcing her husband, kickboxing champion Riyad Al-Azawi. After the singer turned down a marriage proposal from Mustafa, the businessman allegedly hired a former Egyptian police officer named Mohsen Al-Sukari to kill the woman at one of the hotels he owned in Dubai. Al-Sukari was reportedly paid $2 million to carry out the execution. Both Mustafa and his hitman were tried for Tamim's murder and were initially sentenced to death by hanging. Judges ordered the case be given a retrial in 2010, and Mustafa was then sentenced to just 15 years in prison, while Al-Sukari was sent away for a term of 25 years. The two men were reportedly released from prison after being pardoned by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Number 4. Sandra Bullock. At around 6:30 a.m. on June the 8th of 2014, actress Sandra Bullock was awakened by a series of loud banging noises. Believing the sounds to be coming from the third-floor gym of her Los Angeles mansion, she opened the door to her bedroom, at which point she reportedly saw an intruder dressed in dark clothing walking towards the stairs. Bullock immediately shut the door, locked it, and contacted the police. When officers arrived at the scene, they apprehended the home invader. He was identified as Joshua James Corbett, who maintained that he'd been trying to tell Bullock that her security system was faulty. Subsequent reports indicated that 39-year-old Corbett had been stalking the famous actress for some time before he ultimately broke into her residence. Upon searching the man's home, investigators reportedly discovered a collection of illegal weapons, including a machine gun. They also found a 2-page letter that Corbett had written to Bullock in which he referred to himself as her husband and the father of her son. It was concluded that Corbett had climbed over the security gate in front of Bullock's home and forced open a locked glass door on the morning of the home invasion. Corbett pleaded no contest to felony charges of stalking and burglary, and he was consequently sentenced to mental health treatment and probation. On May the 2nd of 2018, police officers were sent to Corbett's Los Angeles County home to serve him a search warrant that was reportedly connected to the previous stalking case. Following a standoff with the homeowner that lasted several hours, the police forced their way inside, where they discovered that Corbett had taken his own life with what was described as a sharp object. Number 3. Jam Master Jay. On October the 30th of 2002, Jason William Mizell, better known by his stage name as Jam Master Jay, was gunned down at his recording studio in Queens, New York City. A founding member of the influential hip-hop group Run DMC, Mizell was subsequently buried at Ferncliff Cemetery and Mausoleum in Hartsdale. Investigators believe the murder to have been precipitated by a drug deal gone wrong, but Mizell's killer would remain at large for roughly 18 years. A local gangster named Kenneth McGriff was alleged to have been involved in the shooting, but he was never officially charged in connection to the case. In August of 2020, federal officials announced that they had indicted 2 suspects for Mizell's murder. It was determined that Ronald Washington and Carl Jordan Jr. had entered Mizell's studio on the evening of his death in search of roughly 20 pounds of illegal substances that they'd planned to distribute in Maryland. The shooting reportedly occurred following a heated argument between the 3 men. At the time of the federal indictments, Washington was already in prison. Jordan had been charged with attempted murder in 2003 after he'd shot Mizell's nephew in the leg, and he was arrested by New York Police Department officers on August the 16th of 2020. Today's topic was requested by Rocksmith CDLC 2014 Playthroughs and 7. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Gianni Versace. Famed fashion designer Gianni Versace returned to his Miami Beach mansion on the morning of July the 15th of 1997 after getting his morning magazines at a news cafe on Ocean Drive. As he climbed up the front steps, the 50-year-old was reportedly approached by a man wearing a grey t-shirt, black shorts, and a white hat, who was also carrying a backpack. The man pulled out a handgun and shot Versace twice in the head at point-blank range. A witness to the shooting then chased after the gunman, who ultimately escaped after fleeing into a nearby parking garage. Versace was taken to Miami-Jackson Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead shortly after 9 a.m. Investigators later found a vehicle in the nearby parking garage that had been stolen from a cemetery caretaker named William Reese, who'd been fatally shot 2 months prior. Reese's killer had been identified as Andrew Cunanan, who was listed as one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives after being linked to a total of 4 murders within the span of a month. About a week following Versace's death, the authorities came upon Cunanan's body on a luxury houseboat in Miami Beach. He'd reportedly taken his own life with the same gun that he'd used to murder Versace and 2 others. It emerged that Cunanan had become obsessed with the designer and bragged about having a close friendship with him and other celebrities, an aspect that investigators attributed to the man's delusions of grandeur. A 2008 article in Vanity Fair reported that Cunanan and Versace had briefly met at a San Francisco nightclub many years prior to the shooting, a claim that the slain designer's family vehemently denied. Number 1. Adrienne Shelly. On the morning of November the 1st of 2006, actress Adrienne Shelly went to the Abingdon Square apartment that she used as an office in Manhattan's West Village. Her husband, Andy Ostroy, the chairman and CEO of a marketing firm, became concerned about Shelly's well-being after she hadn't made contact with him throughout the day. Shortly before 6 p.m., Ostroy reportedly went to the building and asked the doorman to accompany him up to the apartment where he knew Shelly was working. When they entered the suite, they found the actress's body hanging from a shower rod with a bedsheet wrapped around her neck. Following the arrival of New York City police officers, a preliminary investigation theorized that Shelly had taken her own life. Ostroy adamantly protested that postulation by claiming that his wife had been happy prior to her death and that she wouldn't have left their young daughter motherless. There was some evidence at the apartment that a break-in had occurred, as the front door had been left unlocked and there was money missing from Shelly's wallet. The New York Police Department eventually agreed to conduct a more thorough examination of the crime scene, at which point it was discovered that a sneaker print had been left in gypsum dust near to where the actress's body was found. The print was matched to another set of shoe marks that were found in an area of the building that had been under construction on the day of Shelly's death. On November the 6th, the authorities announced that they'd arrested 19-year-old Diego Pilco as part of their investigation. The suspect, a construction worker from Ecuador, confessed to attacking Shelly in her apartment before staging the scene to make it appear as if she'd hanged herself. During his 2008 trial, Pilco recounted how he'd taken notice of her upon returning to work after his lunch break. He reportedly followed Shelly to the apartment and attempted to rob her, but she caught him in the act and threatened to call the police. Pilco then grabbed her phone, which triggered an altercation that rendered the actress unconscious. The construction worker subsequently strangled her and hung her body in the bathroom. Pilco ultimately pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter and was sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be rich and infamous or poor and beloved? Let us know in the comments section below.